Good evening, free enterprise fans around the world. Welcome to week 6 of the Lali-Ho Swiss League. We have a fantastic match tonight between two runners, Soleras and ZoeVermilion. My name is Possum Morpheus, and I am joined by the one and only Smapey. How you doing tonight, Smape?
Doing fantastic. Very excited for this 4-1 showdown here. Both of these runners have their tickets punched to the bracket stage, and now they're just jockeying for position. So this is going to be a good one. This is going to be two of the absolute most elite runners in the tournament so far. This has been a massively competitive event. So anybody going 4-1 this far in, that's definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah, two fantastic runners. Everyone knows Zoe, the creator of so many of the wonderful bots for the free enterprise community, Tricker bot, Siren, etc. Just wonderful behind the scenes work from Zoe. Wonderful behind the scenes work from Soleras as well, the newest member of the Restream lead team. So we have a battle of admins effectively here. Which one will reign supreme remains to be seen. But I'm liking these fake objectives that these two runners have. We get to pursue some truth. We get to learn something new. We get to accept ourselves. We get to let love shine. We get to change the world when we change our mind. This is my kind of like existentialist race that we got going on.
Yeah, very, very uplifting. Usually, the deepest we get in one of these seeds is that justice is not the only right in this world. But now we're getting a bit more of a lesson here tonight. So thank you for our objectives back there to everyone in the background. That's going to be Dravenheart doing the tracking tonight, and Dishmu on the restream. Both of their first time in the respective roles. So make sure to show them some love for stepping up, volunteering, and making sure we got a show here for you tonight.
Yeah, it's great work as always by the behind the scenes folks, and great work by our racers to give us the ability to just kind of watch them do what they're going to do. Extremely excited to see them try to get to 5-1 to avoid any chance at a play in. I know that the runners are going to be extremely excited to do so as well. To this point, both runners have had some tough opponents. In particular, Solaris being able to get through both poorly drawn bees and Penguinator on their schedule, I thought was some exceptional racing by Solaris, and ZoeVermilion, no slouch of their own. Getting through some runners like Locke and Nitzy. So a lot of great work by both runners to get here with some of their opponents they've had to go through.
Yeah, those are some big names, and that's really been one of the themes of this tournament is the level of competition has risen just so high over these last couple events that anybody is a threat at this point. There was kind of an old guard in some of the first few events where you would see a lot of the same names going into the later stages, but now so many up and comers have been putting in so much practice and really threatening some of these established names, and it's really, really exciting to see. I'm just thrilled to see the caliber of talent that we have on display tonight. This should be a real good one. We got a boss hunt, we got a character hunt, and I think they're about ready to go.
Yeah, get Tella. I have a little mantra in this game of take care of the old man and he will take care of you. What I also firmly believe is that we are starting with roughly a character and a half here. This is a rough start. That package coming from that mom bomb may be huge here. This could be a very early Fusoya, a very early Cecil, very early, Sid or Kane to really get the party started. Because Yang and Porum leave a lot to be desired as a starting team.
Yeah, right you are. And those character checks are going to be pretty crucial. That package, since it is a key item, it does open up, as you mentioned, the higher power characters, Fusoya and Edge. I got to imagine with the low power that we're getting from these initial characters, our runners are going to make checking that package character a priority. In fact, yeah, it looks like Solaris is heading right over to Mist.
Yeah, I don't hate that because even with something like, you know, a short bow or a crossbow and some not great arrows, you can still get through things. Maybe it might take a little bit, but For Atella, which is an objective, not a lot of firepower, but you take the exit mage early on. And what in the world is burning down the village?
Um, is that just a? It looks like it looks almost like a dust cloud sprite. I'm not even familiar with that.
Yeah, same here. I don't know what that one is, but it's burning down the village, all right. Meanwhile, Zoe found Cecil hanging out with some dark imps at the Baron Inn. Cecil is, in my opinion, utterly broken on this flag set. So that will be a check that our runners definitely are going to do to get that paladin as soon as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Any flag set where you're going to have access to the potential of high tier weaponry like we do on Wildish, and Cecil is going to really shine. He's a character that his worth is very much based on the equipment you find for him. With an abundance of weapons available, he's going to be a mainstay of any team. Not only is he a powerful offensive powerhouse, but once you upgrade him to Paladin, gets that automatic cover ability, a manual cover ability as well. That can get you through so many fights that rely almost entirely on physical damage.
Yeah, Cecil simply has an available skill set that is unlike any other in this game, where he has that cover ability you alluded to, and single-handedly just warps the reality that the other characters live in because they have no fear. They are able to do whatever they want at that point, and he just makes sure they do not die. We have a cheeky play here from Soleras going to Eblin Castle, trying to spike some of that really nice T Wildish loot.
I like this. I really like these early plays into Evelyn Castle. There's just so much potential for good loot here. Now, Solaris doesn't know that Cecil is available in this seed at Baron, but there is a good chance of snagging some really good hardware for him with some safe scumming like he is, just finding out where those trap chests are and looting around them.
Well, I saw a cat claw there for Solaris. That would be good enough for me to just go. I would grab that cat claw and I would be out of here and go get that Tella and then move on and carry on with my life, if you will.
Yeah, and it looks like that's exactly Solaris's plan. So yeah, one of the best weapons for Yang. A lot of people like that Thunderclaw because of the ability to take on so many bosses that are weak to that Thunder element. But the Cat Claw is probably the best sort of standard weapon for Yang, just as far as the strength boosts that it gives and the just being really powerful there.
Yeah, it gives both +5 agility and strength. The agility in particular is enormous early on. There's a Zeus gauntlet as well for Solaris and King, Queen, Eblin, the freest of free, hanging out at the package. So Tella not going to be hard to acquire. Can actually kill Porum here with a couple Fire 2s though. So may have to burn a Cure 2 or a Life Pot on Zoe's side in order to keep Porum alive to get maybe an early level.
Yeah, and it's definitely something the twins appreciate early on, is getting those early bits of experience to help them out. Palom especially benefits from it, but Porum, you really want to get her up to speed. She gets earlier access to the Berserk spell than her counterpart Rosa, which is one of the major advantages that Porum brings to the table. Can also naturally learn the exit spell. That's going to be a little bit less of a bonus here since we have access to Tella, who exit is probably his best spell early on. But yeah, getting that experience on Porum is very useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, the King and Queen of Eblin deciding to be ultra rude and literally target that Porum with all 3 of the Fire 2s. Zoe saying, I am tired of using my life potions. Stay on the ground, young lady, and we'll figure out what we're going to do later.
Yeah, it's not like Zoe is going to be hurting for opportunities to get experience for Porum. There's with Tella here, you're going to be able to go deep into some dungeons to get some loot. We know that Cecil's available there for powering up, so there's going to be opportunities to get experience for Porum here pretty quickly. I believe Solaris has found all 3 trap chests at this point, so he is just going to loot to his heart's content.
Yeah, and getting that Zeus gauntlet and the Cat Claw, and there's a Thunder Claw.
Oh, so wow.
That's huge for Solaris. And meanwhile, I get a chuckle every time Yang is going to get a level for Zoe. We're going to see admins gain the level, and I just think that's funny.
It is pretty good. Good foresight on Zoe, knowing exactly who is going to be available and naming them appropriately.
Oh, a cure staff for Porum. There's a power staff though. That's quite the upgrade. Knockback Road though, which could be a potential issue. Also, there is a Zeus Gauntlet that we're opting not to equip. So there we go. That's perfect. So happy to see that for Soleras because that's going to be 15 strength and 5 agility. That's going to be probably 2 extra multipliers, which this early on is a huge damage increase for Yang.
Yeah, the more strength you can get on Young, the better. Just because of the way his damage is calculated, he gets more of a benefit from strength than most other cast members. So you really like being able to pump that up early. Young has a tendency to sort of suffer in damage if early in the game, and really doesn't kind of come into his own until you get a ton of levels on him. But when you can really juice up his stats early on with gear like this, a lot better off.
Yeah, definitely better. And oh no, we have Rydia deciding to take but 27 damage instead of 30, and throws off the timing for Soleras on this plague fight. While we have Zoe looting part of Watery Pass, the big things I saw were a Lunar Staff and Charm Arrows. Not really anything to write home about though.
Yeah, I mean, getting a nice staff with a huge will bonus on it is good for your healers, but not anything that's going to really like propel you forward here in the early game. I think as far as the looting goes, Soleras is definitely on the better end there.
Yeah, Eblin definitely did work for Soleras. The Zeus Gauntlet, the Cat Claw, there's a White Spear for a character not yet seen. This Plague fight, it's so awkward to try to do this at Battle Speed 1. It may behoove our runners to try this at maybe Battle Speed 3 or so. But I think this Boreas will get it done for Soleras, so very well done to get through this, and maybe trying to preserve Rydia as an anchor as well.
And here's a check in Damsian Basement here for ZoeVermilion. Well, there's another cat claw. This is Yang Equipment Seed, apparently.
Yeah, if you have to have an early Yang, at least let the game throw you some cat claws. That is a suitable way to get him going.
Indeed. Also got that Asura spell. We know Rydia is in play, and Asura can be a little bit of a dicey healing option, but definitely one you can rely on. There's kind of this awkward phase in the mid game where your healers have Cure 2, haven't quite gotten to Cure 3 yet, and really struggle to keep up an entire party of 5. And Asura can kind of step in there and provide some semi-reliable healing for your team.
Yeah, 66% of the time, it's some of the best healing in the game.
Yeah. 66% of the time, it works every time.
Yeah. Oh, a Dragon Whip in Antline Cave and a Black Sword. So those are interesting finds. The Dragon Whip, probably not going to be super useful for Soleras for a couple reasons. It looks like with that bomb summon that came from the West Hobbs check, that Soleras is probably destined to keep Rydia as an anchor. So that Dragon Whip is going to be nice money. That Black Sword, though, should Soleras choose to go to Baron Inn before going to Ordeals, will give him an extra source of meaningful damage early on for that Dark Knight Cecil.
Yeah, we don't really associate Dark Knight Cecil with being a damage powerhouse. That Black Sword kind of flips the script a little bit. It's not incredible. It won't carry you any further than the early game, but it does turn Dark Knight Cecil from sort of a liability in your party to being able to contribute meaningfully damage-wise. Plus, it has that chance to proc a swoon on hits. So if you are fighting something that lacks the boss bit, that can also be a boon to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like Zoe, going into this plague fight, has 4 people. Very heads-up use here for Kamikaze as well. So going to get 340 chip damage in on Plague, and also going to be able to start the cycle again by bringing Tela back up. So very heads-up use of the Kamikaze there. And Soleras found a hook. And if I'm not mistaken, hook seeds are the worst.
They are, but when you've got a party that's kind of struggling for damage as it is right now, I kind of welcome that hook because that's another character check. It's another key item gated character check, so you still have a chance at that Edge and Fu. We know Edge is in the seed. We saw him back in Kaipo. Chance he could be a duplicate character. We could see Fusoya. We could see another character that can really boost our offense. Grabbing another one of the grabbing Porum's brother in Palom would be a welcome sight. But so I don't hate the hook. If that's our only way underground, this might get a little bit difficult.
Yeah, and looks like Zoe deciding greener pastures await elsewhere, and that Rydia not worth the trouble yet. Not a bad idea because anchoring is not super important in the traditional sense. This early on, you actually want somebody fast in the middle slot. So that's perfectly fine. Come back when you can beat Plague in 2 or 3 hits and call it done.
Yeah,
And
do not blame her for bailing there. Not a questionable move at all.
okay, can we talk for a minute? That's Wyvern in Waterfall and Val in this cave. I am actively upset right now. Why do things like that never happen in my racing?
Dishmu decided he was going to go a little bit easy on our runners today and remove some of the more annoying fights from being required. So
Now, this is a little bit of interesting routing from Soleras. Hi, other cat claw. I guess we'll have 3 now. But not getting this Tela and then making this hook dive. So losing out on the source of exit tells me that Soleras probably going to full loot this cave, either on the way down or the way back out, and not kind of worry about that exit spell yet.
yeah, I kind of like it. It's the looting has been working out for Soleras already in Eblin Cave. Eblin Castle, and now looking to extend that luck into Eblin Cave. I like it. I'm a fan of looting, especially on these wildish flags. You can get so much good stuff. So yeah, probably gonna take a look at who this character is and then decide what to do loot wise on the way out. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and that is a very welcome sight here. Not just the Octomam on the hook route, which is, by all accounts, pretty much a free boss, let's be real. But that's a Kane. And early on in this flag set in particular, Kane gets a Dwarf Axe. He can put a Strength Ring or a Zeus Gauntlet on. He's a really good early game pickup. And I think we have a White Spear for him as well,
We
which means
do.
Kane as a mage is on the table right now. That White Spear used as an item will do more damage than any physical attack right now.
Yeah, just the massive innate damage of that white spell can be very, very useful early on. So this is a wonderful pickup here in Kane. Soleras has got to be happy right now. Yeah, go ahead and take the save. Probably going to loot a little bit on the way out.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And welcome to everyone from Randomania who is coming over, I believe, from the McBain and Rex banner match. No spoilers, but welcome in. We're about 15 minutes in. We started out with a Yang and a Porum. There's a Tela at the package. There was a Rydia on Hobbs and a Cecil in Baron. I might be forgetting a character. Oh, yes, the Kane on the hook route that we literally just found.
Oh, I love this play from Soleras. Instead of resetting out and save scumming around the Staleman, it's going to pop an Hourglass and try to take it on, and never mind, going to decide against it. So I loved the play, but
Yeah, had Yang not gotten put to sleep there, I definitely would have suggested following through with that. I didn't see that defense sword the first time through. So White Spear and defense sword both being picked up for Kane, that's huge. So early on, you use that White Spear or to exploit any holy weakness, and then later on, you have that defense sword to pivot to, which is his best weapon other than the Avenger.
absolutely, yeah, everything is coming up roses for the Dragoon here. You've also got that Zeus Gauntlet, which is basically the best in slot accessory for Kane as well. It looks like he's going to be a staple part of Soleras' offense going forward here. ZoeVermilion going in to get Kane as well.
And on Soleras' side, that is a cursed ring in the shop here. That is something I fully expect both of our runners to purchase. As easy as it is to keep Rydia on the ground as an anchor, it's even easier to just decide willy-nilly who you want to be your anchor by just having a cursed ring.
Yeah, it's just when you have that cursed ring in your inventory, it's such a weight off your shoulders because you don't have to be walking on eggshells and making sure you've got someone appropriate to be your anchor the entire seed. You slap that cursed ring on whoever is appropriate in the end and just focus on the here and now on your way through. So, big pickup there. Some nice stuff in the item shop as well. Bacchuses, silk webs, we also have our source of extra life potions. So really good shops here in Evelyn Cave.
Yeah, and also if you decided you weren't going to loot the right places and find cat claws, oh, by the way, they were in the weapon shop. So this is just Young percent right now.
Yep.
We've seen 3 cat claws as loot. We've seen cat claws in the shop. Yes, there were samurai arrows, and those are nice too. But let's be real, this is Young percent, y'all.
Yeah, our monks and our dragoons are really enjoying what we're finding so far. And speaking of monks, we're heading over to Fabul on Soleras' side.
Yeah, that's the next logical check. It definitely makes sense. Oh, no white spear, it looks like, for Soleras. So that is actually a big difference early on. Not having access to using the white spear as an item, but was able to back row that cane with the dwarf axe. The only semi-easy way to back row glitch him, unless you have an edge and want to steal charm harps and do other crazy things.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, on recollection here, that white spear was in the back of the watery pass,
Hmm.
and Zoe was able to go and check that out. Zoe did pick up that Tella early. Solaris is yet to pick up Tella. So yeah, that's an advantage for ZoeVermilion right now in having that white spear, just picking up for Kane, and going to be able to make good use of that Dragoon now.
Now this is where that that Boreas would have come in handy. So let's hope that that Solaris is able to get through this fairly easly.
And
Because
just as you say that, ZoeVermilion picks up a Gaia drum from the save room, which is one of the few chests Solaris did not check. And
yeah, this is such an awkward fight. I think you try to leave it so that you have one of the dolls in front and one of the dolls in backup, which is what Solaris was able to do with the kick. Kick actually being useful here. Now, with that back doll being asleep, I actually have no idea. Will they turn into Calbrina if they're asleep?
I want to say that they will not while they're asleep,
I
but don't, guys. I know they won't when they're stopped.
Yeah, they won't when they're toted. They also won't when they're dead, so we won't
Yeah,
get to find
death
out.
is
But
also a really good way to prevent the big doll. Um, you can do all sorts of tricky things. Reducing their HP to 0 is always a valid strategy.
yeah, HP reduction to 0 pretty much is the way to win this game. Do that to your opponents, and you're gonna get through. And oh baby, a second Zeus Gauntlet.
This is just just raining boons on our melee characters here. So that is a Zeus Gauntlet for Kane. That's a Zeus Gauntlet for Young. They don't have to share it anymore. No passing it back and forth. Just everybody is good with their best possible accessory here.
Yeah, now I see Starveil's in the shop here for Solaris, but I also saw something very interesting on Zoe's side, where V picked up a crystal ring and now has crystal ring on Kane in the middle slot. So V is going to have power overwhelming from an agility standpoint for this overworld. Just going to be running rampant through these checks.
Yeah, and that's one of those really interesting sort of idiosyncrasies about agility is early on you want someone really fast in the middle, and then as you get to the end of the game, you want the opposite. So yeah, really heads up play there, just getting as much agility on your center character as possible, making these fights much easier.
And there's your Gaia drum, Snapey.
I like it. Good use of that. Probably one of the best use of a Gaia drum you can have here in the overworld.
Yeah, outside of maybe a Magus Sisters or a set of Dark Imps, just one shot and done is really nice.
And Soleras is storming up Mount Ordeals here. Still hasn't picked that Tella up, but if he is able to get through this, when he does pick Tella up, Tella is going to be loaded to bear with his entire spell set.
Are we in for a little French vanilla, or is this even randomized? Let's find out, and the verdict is this even?
I mean, this is D Shmoo's first time race streaming. Sometimes it's like when you're making like Gatorade out of powder, you don't shake it up quite as much, and there's just like a little like really sweet stuff at the bottom. That's what this is right here.
No, it'll probably work out just fine. I have faith in Dishmu. I also want to point out something Soleras did very tricky with this setup is put the curse ring on Rydia. And a lot of folks might wonder, well, why would you put the curse ring on Rydia if she's going to be off center slot? Well, the reason is you keep her completely out of the queue. She's basically never going to take a turn, and you can have turns being taken with characters you care about. In this fight, if Rydia dies, so be it. But more importantly, it's not having her in the queue to take up actions from your meaningful characters. So it's very heads up again. A lot of really good technical prowess showed off early by both our runners.
Yeah, it's one of those real micro optimizations that kind of separate the great runners from the elite runners. Final Fantasy IV did not have a way to pass your turn besides putting in a command, putting in a parry command. Other Final Fantasies would have a button that would let you switch to another active character so you weren't wasting time. Not the case here. So if there's... Are you kidding me?
Speaking of wasting time, Smokey, you could not have led into that any better, my friend. That was glorious.
This is going to be a slog. Very little capacity for multi-targeting here outside of Young's kick. So we'll be here for a bit.
Well, this is actually an interesting gauntlet because a lot of these are undead. Cure 2 from Porum might actually be your best source of AoE damage here.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The other thing that is unfortunate is that these are all going to be back attacks, so we're going to see a lot of enemy animations.
Yes, this is somewhere around 22 to 25 different monsters in these 5 fights, and every single one is going to get off at least one action, if not more. This is awful from a runner's perspective. It's absolutely great and glorious from a viewer perspective.
I love Dissatisfied in chat. Thriller is a harp song. That would be great if we didn't want to get every single one of our streams DMCA flagged.
Well, I wonder if Calamity, our wonderful harp randomizer extraordinaire, would be able to come up with maybe an off Thriller, something that's close enough but doesn't hit DMCA.
Just change the key slightly.
Yeah. He's awful good at what he does, if anyone can do it.
It's called Triller. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Triller. Nice. But meanwhile, Zoe about to get the bad news while Soleras is into fight 3. The fourth fight here, if I remember correctly, is the spicy one. You get the 7 zombies that all just sit there and eat your life away and take all of your time. And then the 5th fight, I think, is a Lilith and 2 Red Bones, which is a really nice encounter because you can cure 2 of them all, and they're weak to fire, and they give like 3,400 XP. So tons of XP coming out for this party, which is pretty nice, all things considered.
Yeah, those Liliths are one of the rare encounters here on Ordeals, and if you get into a particularly nasty spot in a seed where you just have absolutely no way of progressing because your party is so weak, there are times where I've just taken random encounters here on Ordeals to look for those Lilith fights and use them to grind up party members, just because the amount of experience they give is very, very good at this part of the game when you don't have access to those real grinds in the middle and late game.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, any XP is good XP. And, a quick welcome to our friends from Randomania 3. I believe that was a match between Xenocat and Leggy Starscream, so no spoilers, please. But welcome on in. So far, we do not have a lot of progression on this seed. We have a hook, we have a back attack off gauntlet, we have a smattering of characters who are not exactly who you want to take to the end game, but yeah, here we are, and here our runners go, trying to get through this back attack on Mine Ordeals.
And we are almost through it on Soleras' side.
Yeah, the difference so far being that Zoe has done the package check, and Soleras has not followed through to get that tele yet. maybe holding out hope that there is a Tele elsewhere, which is completely viable because then you don't have to worry about sitting through a 2 to 3 minute cutscene to complete that objective. Maybe just holding that in his back pocket and not worrying about it yet.
Is going to take that safety save after the gauntlet there. Do not blame him whatsoever. There's a lot of temptation just run into the Cluya Shrine and get it over with, since it's not usually a difficult fight, but after you've sat through that long, you don't want to get surprised by a wyvern or something here. Darkness
Oh,
Crystal big. That's a big find.
yeah, Darkness Crystal can't be understated. It's another gated character check. We've seen Cecil, we've seen Tella, we've seen Rydia, Kane, Yang, and Porum. We've seen 6 of our distinct 10 characters. That means that there's a decent chance that Edge or Fusoya could be up on that moon. Uh, an early Fu, holy cow, does that make life easier for our runners?
Yes, indeed. And as we mentioned earlier, we know that Edge is in the character pool. He is in Kaipo. Just for those unfamiliar with this flag set, we do have only 10 of the 12 characters available in any given seed. We won't know unless we check all of the character slots who is sitting out, but we any given seed, you will not come across 2 of those characters. There are a couple of dupes in there, but yeah, that's something to keep in mind. If you see a character somewhere, there is a chance you can find them elsewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. I had completely forgotten about the Edge. So we've actually seen 7 of our distinct 10 already, which is pretty ridiculous for only being 27 minutes into the seed. That's a lot of different characters to have spotted already.
Yeah, just happening across every key item so far that gives you a chance to peek a character.
And it'll be interesting to see, does Soleras go to Baron Inn or go to the Moon? And looks like Baron Inn is the play. So going to get that Cecil, uh, he's already going to be a paladin, so definitely don't hate this. And we'll probably see Zoe follow in the same footsteps. If you find, let's say, Sirens up on the Moon, maybe you get cheeky with some gold dragons and get a ton of early levels for this party and really get them going.
Yeah, you're gonna have Paladin Cecil. You've got that defense sword for him already, so he is going to be in a very, very good position. Um, Dark Imps not terribly threatening here. They're going to do a good chunk of damage at least, and then you got to contend with that second fight.
Yeah, the first fight here, it's going to be a little punchy, but not the biggest worry, especially for that Kane. The second fight, though, there can be some really rude things here, but thankfully it's so slow, and Kane and Yang are fast. So even if this is something rude like Ogo Pogo, our runners will not have too much of an issue because they're just going to be so darn fast.
Gosh, look at that damage that Yang is putting out.
Yeah. That's the power of Zeus Gauntlet Double Cat Claw.
Yeah.
Again, from D. Shmoo, very friendly on where some of these rude bosses are. This is Wyvern, Ogo Pogo, and Val basically out.
Yeah, just going overwhelming offense here should be able to get through before that big wave even threatens again. Yeah, it's over. That was that was a very, very easily dealt with Ogopogo. And some cutlery for your troubles.
Well then, that's a spoon, and that means if Edward is on the moon and Solaris goes moon after Baron Inn, and let's say Zoe does not, that could be a huge game-changing thing as well. This is one of those times where, yes, Fusoya would be great, but Edward would be a wonderful consolation prize on the moon because
Oh,
you'd have Spoonward online.
absolutely. I would absolutely not mind going full team melee with Glass Cannon Edward on the party. And yeah, Solaris heading right over to Mysidia, going to raise the big whale, get himself a 8-person mount here, and check that character.
And looks like Zoe also going to do Baron in first, going to get that Cecil. I think that's a great play. Just anytime you can get your hands on Cecil in this flag set, he is just so dang good.
Yeah, especially when we already have the hardware available. We've got Zeus gauntlets, we got a defense sword. Uh, that's a phenomenally equipped Cecil right there.
Yeah, and I think for Zoe, it's going to be White Spear, Cane, and Defense Sword for Cecil, which is really good to pair with that Yom.
Yeah, definitely. I love a defense sword Cecil when you have the opportunity to use cover strats. We haven't seen hide nor hair of a Magna Key, so we're still looking at a very strong potential for a hook route. And if there's anything punchy down there, defense sword Cecil covering your allies is there's uh, very little else that feels better than that.
And looks like Soleras going to do the Mist Cave check, which we know is Valvalis, with Wyvern sitting in the waterfall. May also do this package check now, knowing that he can get through it super easy. Nope, still deciding I want nothing to do with that Tella yet. Oh, he already blew up Mist. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he blew up Mist and then just took the airship out. So now finally cashing in for that Sage.
And Zoe also threw Baron in. So we are about half an hour in. Our runners are effectively even on everything that they've done. I think Soleras has a slight loot advantage from Eblin, but Zoe has more in the way of weaponry, which may be better long term. White Spear Cane, a couple Cat Claws, and a defense sword versus the Zeus Gauntlets on Soleras' side. So, very interesting who is going to be ahead long term, but right now we are basically dead even.
Yeah, right. You are. This is very interesting. A lot of this is going to come down to how our runners decide to route from here. There's a lot of options available. I know nobody's particularly excited to march down that hook route. If there's anything to do to avoid that right now, they're going to take it. And then the moon is providing a very interesting alternative right now.
And looks like Soleras, after having Rydia stick with the party for all this time, has said goodbye, taking on Tella, who you can let Tella gain all the levels you want with that cursed ring and not have to worry one bit about it. So looks like Soleras is out the Rydia, and I believe Zoe left Rydia on Mount Hobbs and did not go back. So that is something that Zoe will have a pocket anchor if needed.
Yeah, Rydia, we've seen a number of seeds here where Rydia has really performed well. This is not looking to be one of those seeds where that is the case. We've really found nothing for her to really make her stand out. None of those high-tier summons, nothing even useful like Sylph. I think the most useful thing we saw was an Asura for sale. So really not a seed where you're going to try to make her do anything more than just be an anchor. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that both runners have kind of abandoned her at this point.
Yeah, I think the best thing we saw for her, honestly, was a Dragon Whip.
Yeah.
But with this team, you don't need Rydia as a Zerker. That's a Palom. That's an interesting decision to make. Do you take a Palom with this party? I don't think you do. I think you rely on Tella for Black Magic, and you forego the Palom.
It's a really difficult decision. I think I agree with you. You just got so much melee power. Just rely on it. And yeah, it looks like that's what Soleras is doing. Let's see what Zoe decides.
Yeah, for Zoe, it's kind of the same decision, but Zoe has even better weaponry. So yeah, both runners just missing Palom, which is a rarity when you find a Palom pretty early on. But I don't hate it because you're a team heavy Zerk with what the game has given so far.
Yeah, this is there's a strong potential here for a legendary Quint, but I don't know if we'll go that crazy. But it's on the table.
Well, anytime you get a cursed ring, which is not guaranteed, and a lot of our top tier runners, and Zoe and Soleras have shown this off, they don't shop a lot. And so you don't normally come across cursed rings because cursed rings can be in overworld shops on this flag set. The fact that the cursed ring just happened to be in a gated shop means almost anyone is going to check it. So it's just interesting that that's where that cursed ring was, and it opens up a whole new world of opportunity. Speaking of nice things to randomly find, that was a heroin robe for Zoe. And we know
Yeah.
that that is a Mylon Z in Value Cave, which is obscenely punchy, but
Yeah,
actually doable.
yeah, it's a very straightforward fight. Uh yeah, you got access to blink. Oh goodness, Soleras is taking some fights here. I love it.
Has a couple hourglasses and has weak on Tella, and Tella is in the middle slot.
That's
So
that's nice. Yeah, gonna
this,
be landing those spells.
yeah, this is gonna be. I want to say these red giants give like, what is it, 25,000 apiece or so. So this might get Soleras about 75,000 XP, and really gonna put that Tella to use with that weak spell, and just really get this going because I don't believe we found sirens, and this is huge, especially on a hook route.
Meanwhile, Zoe in Mysidia took a peek in the item shop, and there was a Sylph on sale there. If I'd have scattered that earlier, that might have made me keep Rydia around just a little bit longer.
That's a really good point. Sylph is really really strong for Rydia. For me, it wouldn't be enough to keep her alive unless I had also found that curse ring, in which case, yes, I would have spent that 30 grand so easy because Sylph is really strong. It also acts as way better healing than Cure 2 does, which was a point you were making earlier, that between that Asura summon and between that Sylph, you would have all the healing you want. And there's a nice casual 56,000 experience for Soleras. That is going to be a decent chunk of change right there.
Yeah, really, really smart play on his part to get his team up to speed here. Meanwhile, Zoe is just charging into the hook route, not taking any more detours. Just going to do a little bit of looting here, but wants to make progression into the underground here.
Yeah, there is a secondary option here. If you just don't want to deal with that Octomam, you can jumpstart enough of this party and you can get cheeky on the moon here for Soleras. But doesn't look like that's the play he's going to make. He's going to take this big whale, go back down to Earth, and most likely go straight down to that hook route. I doubt we'll see trap chests or any more looting from Soleras on the way down, whereas Zoe is taking on the Staleman chest for a little XP and also a shot at a really good item from this.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think Soleras is going to be going straight on through, whereas I expect Zoe will likely hunt down that Mad Ogre chest in Upper Babel for some XP. And, you know, like you said, extra, these trap chests give some really good loot. So that's 2 rolls on something. Gosh, but you got pretty great loot already. I can't imagine what you would need. Maybe some power shirts or something like that for your melee team.
Well, there's this dude in the party on Zoe's side that's named Say. We know him as Cecil, and Cecil does have the biggest, shiniest sticks, and he likes to wield them. An apple, however, from the Staleman, not exactly a shiny sword.
I mean, his sword is already pretty shiny. I would be pretty content with a defense sword, but yes, the swords can get much, much shinier than that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, Cecil has the ability to basically laugh at Kane and his ineptitude when it comes to using weaponry. Because Kane's like, oh baby, a defense sword. I'm so happy. Cecil's like, bro, that's my 5th best weapon.
And yeah, just as you predicted, Soleras heading right on through, not bothering with any of those chests.
Yeah, the only way this punishes Soleras is if this Mad Ogre chest gives an Avenger, an Excal, or a Crystal Sword. Other than that, the play to get that XP from that random encounter and hitting a life glitchable encounter as well, using that hourglass, that's like galaxy brain stuff from Soleras. It's extraordinarily well done.
Yeah, it's just really strong knowledge of the game, and because that's not an orthodox play. That's not something you see every day. So that's just knowing what is available, knowing all of your options, and making a really great judgment call about when to pull one of those strategies out of your back pocket.
And looks like we have. Is this going to be Dancing Dagger For Cecil, no, we're gonna go Elven Bow Samurai Arrow. So Cecil gonna do his best impression of Rosa here, and meanwhile Zoe those Mad Ogres, and will probably chew through them pretty easily, given V's power level.
Charmed, stopped, asleep. that poor ogre is not having the greatest day.
I mean, he gets to take a nap, and everybody likes naps.
That's true.
Charm Claw, unironically doing a lot of work for Zoe, though, was able to crush through those Stalemen, and also does extra damage to the Mad Ogres here. So the Charm Claw, which is normally the claw that everyone hates on for Yang, is actually doing decent work here. Meanwhile, this is a Thunderclaw happy hook route. This is Dr. Luge into Octomam, and Ballnab is going to help out a lot by punching the crud out of Dr. Luge for almost 800 damage. That's a lot.
One thing I've always wondered is there a spot where the HP lines up and the strength lines up that Ballnab can one-shot Dr. Luge?
The one that comes to mind for me would be Baron in spot 1, where the health is split 4 ways and the attack is fairly high there.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know.
Have to keep playing until that finally comes up.
Oh, and now we get the real fight.
There are no end to the amount of quotation marks we're putting around the phrase real fight here.
I mean, we are going to get the briefest poison walk in the history of poison walks here, by the way.
And down goes the good doctor. There's that Octomam we have mentioned. A lot of HP. Going to be fast, but you can chew through that speed with attacks. Every couple of them knocking off a tentacle, resetting the ATB, and making Octomam go just a bit slower.
Yeah, and this is still Yongo Burr. Thunderclaw, Catclaw, Zeus Gauntlet, get him zerked up, and this is going to be a mess for Octo. Probably throw in a Lit 3 with Tella. That's what I'm seeing as well from Soleras. So really liking the gameplay here. Very good all over.
It has a thunder weakness.
Yeah. And Zoe also into the Dr. Luggage fight, Dr. Dialogue, all of the various lovely names that the community has for him. Basically, he who likes to waste time.
So we didn't mention it, but there was a third white spear in that Mad Ogre chest. So.
Yeah, the first one was nice. The second one was unnecessary. You get the third one and you just sit there and you're like, really, game? Especially because it can't even be used against this Octomam.
Yeah, very good point. Octomam has that holy resistance that comes as a byproduct of making Octomam weak against dark attacks. The idea being that they wanted Dark Knight Cecil to feel powerful in the early game. So a lot of the early game bosses have that darkness weakness. But as a result, gets resistance to holy, and White Spear doing holy damage is going to suffer as a result.
Yeah, speaking of holy damage, Yang busting out the 2k there. That is a ton still for this early in the game for a character not named Cecil with a big shiny stick.
Yeah,
that is impressive.
It's very, very rare that you get to see Yang put up this kind of damage this early in a seed. We usually like to call him the Punch Mage just because the way his damage works is he's very reliant on levels, much like a mage would be very reliant on levels to get those spell break points. Really putting in a ton of work here. I really love seeing when characters get played against type like this.
Yeah, definitely. And looks like Zoe taking a safety save as well before going into Octo. I think this does kind of speak a little bit to that disparity in gear, where Soleras just knows that he has basically power overwhelming, and he has the Thunderclaw, he has the right setup to just make Yang go burr there. And Zoe has, that White Spear, which unfortunately doesn't do a ton, has the Defense Sword, which is good. But it's just very interesting, the makeup of this party and how Soleras is still benefiting from that early Eblin looting. But both runners doing a phenomenal job. Soleras just ever so slightly ahead right now.
Yeah, we are at the 45-minute mark, and now the entire world is open. We got that darkness crystal, the moon is open, hook route is conquered, so the underground is open. There are just so many ways runners can approach this from here. Really hoping we get some good disparity here and see our runners diverge a bit.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting an early dwarf castle check here from Soleras. I don't hate this. We know of most of our characters now. However, there is one character that our runners cannot afford to let the other one find first. That being the man who returned from vacation, Fusoya. So anything you can do to try to find him, you do.
Yes, indeed. We have seen races that have been decided by one runner getting access to Fasoya and the other missing out on. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. You do not want to leave that on the table and give your runner an opportunity or give your opponent an opportunity to sneak in on you.
Yeah, it looks like we have a Dark Elf on Soleris' side. Now, this is a fight that when Zoe gets to Dwarf Castle, the White Spear will just obliterate any one of the three that V has picked up. For Solaris, likely going to be just more traditional Zerk strats, probably defense sword, Cecil getting Zerked here, or Kane, whichever one has it on, and some supplemental damage from that Yang.
And we are halfway through the fight as the Dark Elf has decided to change. Of course, one of the byproducts of that is he has lost the boss bit.
Yeah, we're going to get a weak here from Tella. Again, great use of game knowledge here. Get that weak out, then the next hit that this Dark Elf takes, it is going to just die, and that'll be the fight. So it might only speed it up by 1 or 2 animations, but with racers of this caliber, any time made up is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's also taking advantage of the fact that you've got Tella in that center spot, getting the accuracy bonus, and these status effect spells that might not have the greatest accuracy, taking advantage of that boost there.
Ooh, a sparkle at the second spot. That's dangerous if that is, well, no, we've seen Wyvern, we've seen Oko, so no, this isn't dangerous. There's an edge, so that means we have duplicate edges. I think Yang goes here, as much as it's to say.
He's served his purpose. Edge is great here, not just because he's a great character, but that opens up a grind option because you can steal Sirens in Tower of Babel. But no, not going.
Oh.
Stick with Yang.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's interesting though because we haven't seen Sirens, and if Sirens don't show up, that could be a potential game changer for Solaris, for Zoe. That's a big one. I'm a big fan of taking taking Edge over Yang because he can do everything Yang can do. He just does it with a little bit less HP, and he has so much more back end utility.
Yeah. Now we still haven't found anything great for Edge. No great katanas. So I mean, I can understand not taking them, and it doesn't mean Edge is off the table. We know Edge is in Kaipo, so a Sand Ruby also gets access to him. So I can kind of understand Solaris's thinking here that Yang is working for me right now. If I get something to make Edge work, it's still an available option if I get my hands on that Sand Ruby.
That's a very good point. And meanwhile, Zoe getting into Dwarf Castle and going to be doing shop checks first. And have we talked about apples and how much we hate them as rewards? Because there's an apple from Dwarf Castle.
They are showing up quite a bit here, aren't they? So there are only 2 shops that have not been checked now. We've got Tomra and Feymarch. We have not seen Sirens.
Yeah, and that's the burning question at this point is what do you do if there's no Sirens? Do you leave a save before Dwarf Castle? Do you reset back? Or do you just kind of eat it at that point and say, well, I've made my decision. I have to kind of lay in the bed that I've made. There's hourglasses, so that at least puts a different type of grind on the table. Lunar Subterranean Floor 4, you can pick up gold dragons about 20% of the time in random encounters. And Lunar Subterranean Floor 2, 7 of the 8 random encounters you can actually life glitch based on the composition on the encounter table. So hourglasses open up a lot of extra grinding additionally as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a non-traditional option. You like to get those guaranteed high-value encounters, but you take what you can get in these kind of tournaments. And yeah, Hourglass is incredibly useful item. Ooh, there's a lightsaber. Cecil's gonna like that.
Yeah, lightsaber definitely good. That throws things back a little bit in Soleras' favor on the gear side, because one of the big issues was he was down a shining stick. Zoe, meanwhile, finding an extra Zeus gauntlet though. So just as I'm saying that, it's leveled back off again.
It's crazy. This seed just wants to equip our melee characters as highly as possible. It's I've never seen this many Zeus gauntlets before. Party rock.
Ooh. I mean, we may be finding some more. I
Yeah.
don't know if you loot based on what everyone has found already, though. And there's sirens, so no punish for Soleras for not taking that edge.
Yeah, so all of a sudden this decision's looking pretty galaxy brain for Soleras. So
Yeah,
he's got to breathe in a sigh of relief right now.
yeah. It looks like he's going to buy as many sirens as he can afford. 11 with a melee party is perfectly reasonable, especially if you can hit 10 key items, or you choose to do some sort of like gold dragon grind on the moon. That is more than enough sirens for a Zerker party. Might not be enough for a reflect party, but if this seed is telling our runners anything, this ain't no reflect party seed.
This also opens up an early egg grind if any of our runners are feeling a little behind the curve power-wise. They can just go scramble some eggs with those sirens and get their team up to speed.
So here's a Fey March. That's Evil Wall of Leviathan, which is unequivocally not happening. Now, there's some very cheeky shenanigans that can happen with that Odin, though. Kane, if you set him up properly, you can jump the Odin waves, the Odin attacks, and you can get a Thunderstruck kill on the third sword wave. It's not unreasonable with this party. You blink up Kane, you get some slows casted or maybe a Silk Web, and you can hit that Thunderstruck. And that may be what Soleras is going for here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's what he is. And boy, this is such a gutsy call. And immediately failing.
He doesn't have any lightning damage stuff, so he can't do it. It's a wonderful idea, but yeah, unfortunately not going to be able to get it done.
Yes, Fleur, you're absolutely right. I do indeed remember.
Yeah, and the big issue there is just not having that lightning ability. There's just not enough number of actions that you can get in between Kane landing to Life Tella to use a Lit 1 there. So you would have to rely on a Thor Rage, a Lit Bolt, a Zeus Rage, something like that. Otherwise, it was set up immaculately, just missing one key component. But Zoe going to be the first runner to show us what Sheila 1 has to offer. And it looks like we are going to get rewarded with a tower key. So that is probably direction for our runners.
Yeah, that's a lot of potential checks there. Very nicely condensed in one area. Also some good experience as well. The top of the tower is surprisingly high XP value for its difficulty.
Now, the top of tower, was that a Sura, if I'm remembering correctly?
I believe you are correct.
Okay. Have we found any mage mashing stuff? I know we found a ton of other good stuff.
Not that I recall. There might have been a mute dagger slipped in there, but if there was, I didn't see it. I think we have an elven bow. I think that's the only thing we have that is
okay.
Mage.
Yeah, I mean, elven bow, Cecil with a Zeus gauntlet, a black belt, maybe a bandana or headband. That would get the job done there for sure. Because that spot is just a pile of HP at the top of tower. The stats are otherwise awful. So that might be good enough. to push our runners up there. But they also might decide to go to the Tower of Zot. Now, we did see Soleras change airships. We did not see Zoe change airships. The reason I bring this up is because Zoe 45 minutes from now could hate herself. In case V gets the pass and ends up trying to land in front of Troya and has an airship blocking Troya.
Raise that treasury!
Power Robe, I like it. Another Zeus gauntlet, I like it. Hanzo Steel.
Yeah, the Hanzo is great for Zoe. A fourth white spear. So
I can't right now.
Ninja Shirt and Murasame means Zoe almost certainly is going to take that edge, whereas Soleras will not.
And yeah, that's just one of those interesting matters of Zoe having not done that check before checking the treasury. That edge becomes so much more of a valuable pick right now. And gosh, there's some really good stuff there. That Stardust Rod.
Yeah.
No, not really going to have a great application for that Stardust Rod, unfortunately. But still, I like that tree.
The Stardust Rod to go with the Curse Ring on Tella is actually going to guarantee that almost any spell is going to hit from the center slot for him. Any meaningful spell.
That's a very, very good point, actually.
It does counteract that penalty that he would normally have, and I think that Stardust Rod is actually a pretty big deal for things like Stone. We'll see if it plays out that way, if it's ever relevant, but it could be. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a seed, I'm with you on this, Smapey, that has been this melee intensive on the loot. It's like you are forced to play with Zerkers, and if you don't like them, that's a you problem.
Yeah, it's one of the things about Wildish just generally tends to favor melee characters just because they're more gear reliant than mages. But this is pretty lopsided in how the loot's been distributed.
Yeah, I don't know the last time, to your point, I saw 4 Zeus gauntlets in a seed. We've seen a couple power shirts now, I think. We've seen a ton of cat claws. We've seen 4 white spears. Yeah, just everything that your heart could ever desire.
And I mean,
here we are.
There's more incentive to pick up Edge as someone to throw those white spears.
That's true. And a heroine robe as well for Porum, because why not?
Sure. Let Porum bonk things.
Now, again, one of the interesting things that we're seeing here is Soleras deciding not to have an anchor in the middle in Tella, which means Soleras is going to get a ton of turns compared to this Bahamut. And Zoe being anchored here is actually a detriment in this spot because of how slow it is compared to how fast the characters are. So this is another one of those high-level technical things that Soleras is implementing just by rearranging his party a little bit.
I'm very curious to see how much this Mega Nuke's going to hit for.
The answer is a lot.
Yeah, more than I thought. Cool.
So,
I think it's a pretty low magic spot because it's the Magus Sisters here, but yeah, no, I'm absolutely wrong. That hurt.
Yeah, the issue is even if it only gets 3 rolls on the Mega Nuke counter, every roll is 1200 damage. And 3 rolls is 3600 health, and no one on this team has 3600 health.
There's Palom again. I can't imagine anybody is going to be rushing to pick him up.
Yeah, our runners have already said no once to Palom, and I expect it will be no a second time. However,
that is a little more tempting. Vanilla Rosa.
That to me is Goodbye Porum, Hello Rosa, and that is my final endgame party composition. And I'm done tweaking anything.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You know, you've used Porum here, gotten her some levels, but you're going to be going in a little underleveled because you are running a melee team, and they don't need the levels that a mage team does. So Rosa is going to be much more survivable at a lower level than Porum is, just because of her raw HP total. So yeah, I think that's a no question. You ditch Porum, you pick up Rosa.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to have the exact same party compositions for both runners, with the one exception of Yang for Soleras and Edge for Zoe. But otherwise, yeah, this is still just all hands on deck, all Zerkers all the time. And we have a CPU, which, if we have a Soma drop, swag rocks are on the table here.
I can't remember seeing one, but I love it when it happens.
That being said, we're not going to get any cheeky berserking or anything. Looks like Soleras equipping the Thunderclaw to Yang. Just a fun note for our runners and our audience that CPU is not actually a machine, as silly as that sounds, and the Thunderclaw does not do bonus damage to it.
There is one nice thing about this fight, though, is the fact that it only does HP % damage to the party. This is actually a wonderful fight to get right after getting Rosa, because she is very likely to survive this fight and get that experience and just shoot up in levels and get to the point where she's going to be usable more quickly here.
Yeah, definitely. And both runners, making great use of being properly anchored here, getting the levels on Rosa. Just, again, phenomenal play all around. So we're going to see what this Zot reward is. I guess Rosa really is the reward and the treasury with how ridiculous it was for this team. But overall, really liking the play from both runners so far.
Yeah, even if this ends up being a wash key item-wise, I think both runners are going to be happy with everything else that they were able to pick up in this Earth Crystal.
Yeah, definitely.
Joking.
Dishmu, my dude, I'm going to give you a shout out because you're a great restreamer and all, and this is your first time. But can we please save some of these for literally any other seed?
What did mages do to you, Dishmu? What black mage hurt you?
I wonder if Dishmu may have been scarred in some way by Zemazone 3, and this is his revenge tour on mages.
And yeah, both runners heading right over to the tower. They've got that tower key. Just so much potential here. Don't question that decision one bit.
Yeah, now the one thing that gets a little interesting about this is, at what point does Zoe go to Dwarf? And at that point, is it too late to pick up that edge? Now we see both runners taking some monster boxes here. Going to be putting that Thunderclaw to use. Was that an Avenger?
Oh, that was an Avenger.
Okay, well, that's a thing that just happened.
That is indeed. Both runners going to absolutely love to have their hands on that.
That's an apple, though. So Soleras gets an apple, Zoe gets an Avenger. That's a big disparity in prize there.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't notice Soleras actually skipped that chest. I thought they were doing the same chest, but no, Soleras moved on.
Yeah, it's not a huge issue yet, because we don't have the super shiny swords for Cecil. But later on, for Zeromus, for the Moon, being able to Zerk your party without actually Zerking your party is a big deal. And looks like Soleras is pivoting to a Rosa Anchor for this Asura fight. So I think we might get some wall strats here.
Chat corrected me. It looks like Soleras also did pick up the Avenger, so I apologize.
Oh, okay. I also missed that.
More apples. Good.
Yeah, the apples would have been a lot more meaningful if Porum were still in the party. With Rosa, she's still going to get the apples, and that's totally fine, but it means a lot less. A Blizzard Spear, not even putting it in the inventory.
Yeah. On more advanced flag sets, that's kind of a blessing to find right around here. No, we turn our nose up at that. Same with that silent staff. We've already got a life staff. Poo-poo that.
Yeah, on bracket flags, with it being T-Pro and such, a Blizzard Spear would be something you would highly consider if, you didn't already have like 4, white spears. But and I do know that Zoe picked up an Ice Claw for Yang, so I don't think that Blizzard Spear is as big a deal. But Zoe committing to all the trap chests, and this is number 4, so we will see. Does this hold the value that V is looking for?
Yeah, I don't blame Zoe for doing this when you've got Yang that can one-shot. Oh, dear.
So, yeah, that's a thing. That's a second Murasame, which means Edge is 100% online, for me anyway. If I'm in Zoe's shoes and go to Dwarf at any time, that's an auto take, because that's double Mura Edge. That's Edge go Burr. That's primary DPS.
100%. Yeah, that's just too much to pass up right now.
And we do have some wall strats on Asura here from Soleras. We have Cecil covering and using the light sword as an item. Now this will effectively do nothing, but it will keep his cover strats enabled and not have to parry him to pass his turn. So a nice little bit of heads up tech there from Soleras as well.
Yeah, that is such strong knowledge of game mechanics there, because usually you use that parry or defend commands to skip a character's turn when you don't want them to attack. In this case, you want to attack to get those counterattacks from Asura. If you do that on Cecil, though, it does cancel out any of his cover ability. So yeah, just really smart knowing that and being able to keep that cover active.
Yeah, and this wall should last forever as well on Asura, because Asura is relative agility 1, so is the rest of the team compared to Rosa. And now we get to see Zoe making V's own trip to this Asura fight, and this is going to be a slog for both runners, but looks like Soleras is through. Job well done on that fight.
Yep, this will be a... what was it? It looked like a bow.
It was an Artemis bow, which is... you wanted your white mage, but what if we let your white mage also be a Zerker?
We talked about Quint.
I mean, Quad is definitely on the table.
Yeah, Quint maybe not on the table with Tella and the party, but Quad, absolutely.
Yeah. Looks like we have a mute knife on Zoe's side, and Kane actually chewing through this far faster than Soleras was able to by having that mute knife. And here's a nice free fight in the elements, and that was the elements. No quarter leg. Sorry, chat.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see that the discrepancy in the runners right now is that Zoe fully looted this place while Soleras didn't. And what we got for that was a second katana for Edge that Soleras has already passed up on. So it'll be really interesting to see if that decision changes things in the long run. I guess it's going to matter in how quickly it takes Zoe to head over to Dwarf.
Yeah, the quicker Zoe gets to Dwarf, the more likely taking Edge is. If a full grind is done, let's say Zoe says, I already have my character check done. I already have my Tella. I'm just looking for bosses. Dwarf becomes a lot less appetizing as far as checks are concerned. So Dwarf becomes a Zemastone 3 style check instead of a Lali-Ho league check. So you might actually put it off because it's a cutscene, it's 2 bosses, and it's just a key item with no other real means to go there. So it'll be interesting to see how long Zoe puts it off.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to come down to what is available from the super cannon check here that we're about to see on Soleras. If it is something that opens up a check elsewhere, that might be more attractive. If not, then Dwarf might be on the table. Just a Dragoon Lance, so...
Well, the Dragoon Lance is interesting because you have a couple sirens. You now have a way to mash up these gold dragons on the moon. Soleras says no thank you to Feymarch and onward to the great big whale and upward to the moon. So might be seeing some gold dragons here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with this play whatsoever. Such a huge wealth of key items available on the moon. You've got a team more than strong enough to be able to take most of these fights. Charge on down, get your looting in. There are so many key items left on the table. A good number of them have to be waiting up here.
Yeah, the only way that it's possible that there wouldn't be value on this moon is if there's some sort of sneaky demist hanging around or like a 7 key item chain through the Feymarch. Otherwise, this moon is almost certainly going to have value and a fair amount of it. And looks like Soleras opting to go bottom up, choosing item density and key item checks, which definitely makes sense given that our runners have found exactly 6 key items and we're an hour and 12 minutes into the seed. Both of these runners have had seeds that they've finished in this race where they have been done by this time already. So
yeah, that's making them a little bit anxious right now. Knowing, gosh, this I've got like almost no progress, and we're this far in. Has my opponent done something completely different? Are they way ahead of me at this point? This deep in the tournament, it gets really nerve-wracking. So he's going to Dwarf Castle, though. That's edge on the table.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And looks like we're getting some sirens from Soleras. These are the gold dragons we were talking about. Has 3 hourglasses and has that Dragoon Spear. So this Kane is going to make pretty quick work of these poor gold dragons. Or not poor, they're very wealthy, actually. They get a ton of gold.
Yeah, you also have Tello with Weak, which you can use as well, but really no even reason to waste time with that when you've got Kane doing almost half their entire health and damage with one swing. They have 8,000 HP a pop. Wow, that's a big hit.
8,000.
Yeah. I got to work on my verb tenses, apparently.
But the awkward thing about that is for Soleras, not expecting that big damage and also expecting someone else to get in the queue, is missing out on the life glitch. So only getting 60,000 XP instead of getting 90. So that's not a great thing. And also chat confirming for us, Soleras did not get that Avenger. It is not in his inventory.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great loot. Avenger is such a good weapon, both for Kane and Cecil. Kane really loves it because you can do some great glitch shenanigans with it, get all the benefits of the defense sword and the auto berserk of the Avenger. So yeah, that is definitely advantage for Zoe right now. Not taking edge. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'm making a note, and it just says Zoe Edge because I want to know what Edge did to Zoe to not be taken with double Murasame. I know cat claws are great, and it's all the rage to have cat claws for your young, but wow, no double Mura Edge. That's something else for me.
Yeah, I mean it. The only thing I can think of is just feeling entirely content with the party as is, not wanting to bother with rocking the boat and leveling up another character. I mean, I can see that angle, but yeah, that is definitely an unexpected decision. I really thought that Edge was a lock in this party.
Yeah, again, I'm all for it. I love when runners make different choices. Again, this is not saying this is a wrong choice. I want to make that abundantly clear that this is just a choice that makes me think. I'm just very curious what the reasoning is behind that, because it's a play I wouldn't want to make. And as a runner, I'm personally always looking to get better. And so I want to find out from the mind of Zoe, who is a phenomenal runner, what the reason is to not take the edge there.
Yeah. I can think of a few things. Yang has a much higher HP growth than Edge, so he a bit of a safer bet in this Aromas fight. For he's one of the few characters that can survive that that opening nuke Big Bang salvo. If you don't get that Big Bang nerfed, he can actually survive all of that. So he can make a really great chemist in the final fight. And if we're going in at a lower level than anticipated, because we don't have 10 key items, so we're not going to be getting sky high levels here. Yang is a little bit of a safer bet there, again because of that HP pool. Edge might struggle to get to a survivable point.
So, speaking of survivable points, at what point do you survive 42,000 health of waves? The answer is a lot.
I'm bad at math.
Yeah, the answer is a lot, and this is gross.
Yeah, the good old hurdle turtle on the moon is very, very scary.
Now, Soleras is taking the right approach to this, which is let me just nuke it down as quickly as humanly possible. And you have to DPS race Kainatsu.
Mm-hmm.
The scary part about this DPS race, though, is that if Rosa goes down, you are looking at a bit of some question marks. But that Yang chewing through 4,000 damage at a time, I think Rosa lives here. Nope, just kidding.
Barely. Couldn't quite front load enough damage.
But I think enough damage is going to be on the table for Soleras to get through this. Get a Cure 4 up with Rosa, and I think he's going to be through. Meanwhile, Zoe is taking on Mylon Z, employing cover strats with Cecil, and should be okay here because I think a Moon Veil was used for this fight.
Yes, indeed. So that Cecil has permanent blink status for this fight. And can cover his friends with the greatest of ease. Very, very heads-up play, knowing that Mylon Z can only do punches, and Cecil is just going to protect anybody who is in that critical status, which is now the entire team. So this fight is effectively won here for Zoe. Great job.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those just knowledge things from the runners that, Cecil is broken, even without the super shiny swords. Like, he has a lightsaber, which is great, but he has this cover ability, which just lets everybody else go burn. And meanwhile, Soleras having a bit of an issue trying to finish this fight off. Yang not cooperating all of a sudden.
Yeah, this is when you get into that shell state. There, okay, all right. Sometimes he just has so much HP that he just recovers too much, but Soleras able to punch on through.
And so we're going to get dueling rewards on both sides. There's a Twin Harp for Soleras, so that's huge. Also a free crystal ring, and on Zoe's side, just a reminder.
What is this seed? What is this?
Just a casual third Murasame, which is honestly a taunt to Zoe from the seed right now, which is pretty rude, not gonna lie.
It really is. This is the first instance I've seen of a seed that is just fully self-aware and knows exactly what it's doing.
Looks like we have Blink going up on Soleras' side for this Pale Dim fight, and a manual cover on Rosa. Definitely makes sense. Also, unequipping the Thunderclaw, with Pale Dim being resistant to all elements, and Cat Claws not having an element, this will make Yang do considerably more damage. So again, very nice technical prowess from Soleras on swapping in and out these various claws and making use of the different items. And oh, by the way, that's a Dragoon Spear, which really does go burr against Pale Dim.
Yes, it does. Not only does it sound cool when you swing it, it's got that inherent extra damage against dragons, which, as you can tell from that sprite, Pale Dim is one of. Not going to hit him well with any of your elements, but if you take advantage of that dragon weakness, you can do a lot of damage.
Well, I don't know about telling from the sprite if it's a dragon, because
yeah, good point. There's a lot of very dragony looking things that aren't. Yeah.
Demus looks like a dragon, Bahamut looks like a dragon, neither one's a dragon, because why not? And there it is, Pale Dim down, Dragoon Spear doing work, Kane paying dividends, and Zoe making V's way down lunar subterranean as well. And oh hey, how about another defense sword for you, Snake D?
Apparently, you can't get just one of a really great high tier weapon for any character in this seed. They all come in at least pairs.
This is a seed.
I mean, at least now they both our knights get a defense sword. So fantastic.
Yeah, this is a whole lot of firepower, and I don't know if there has ever been a seed where we edge solo as Aromas by darting, but if either of our runners had an edge, you might have enough weaponry to do that.
You really like. I don't think that you're exaggerating. I think between all of the white spears, all the defense swords, all of everything we've seen, I think you would have something to throw on every single one of Edge's turn against Aromas at this point. And you got the spoon too to throw.
It's true. And so this is a particularly awkward scenario for Soleras. Did not go into this fight healed up against Leviathan, which, oh, by the way, is objective number 4. This is going to do 25% wave damage, and then these Ice 2s are going to do like 2k on the wrong character. Only 1,000 on Kane because he's resistant to Ice, but that's an Ice 2 that would have done a baseline of 2,000 damage at this spot.
Yeah, that is incredibly nasty. Leviathan, not typically a very threatening spot, but you put Leviathan, threatening boss, excuse me, but you put him in a spot that has a decent enough magic power for that Ice 2 to do work, and yeah, you get exactly that. There we go. We were talking about Yang's HP pool, and it is coming in clutch here, able to survive a blast like that.
3,000 damage from an Ice 2. Dear God, help me. That is awful. I hate the magic at this spot. I hate things like Leviathan. I hate things like Ruby here. Thankfully, Yang is chewing through this levy while Zoe is chewing through Kainatsu. But my goodness, like, that is a ridiculous Ice 2.
Oh, Kane hanging in there with 2 HP. I thought for sure he was going to drop to that wave, but just enough to hang on.
I'm sure that was calculated from Soleras, doing the math, knowing that that Kane would live.
Well, I mean, if the only thing Kane has taken damage from is the previous wave, then I guess it would make sense, right? Oh, no, he did take that Ice too. Never mind.
But there is Leviathan down. Objective number 4 complete for Soleras. And Zoe about to be through Kainatsu. The pan behind Leviathan, we might have ourselves a dirty double from this Leviathan check at the Ogopogo spot.
Love the pan. It is so many key item checks, so much potential progress, and so much potential power from items behind it. Always a very hype item to get whenever you see it. And yeah, now if you're Soleras, do you bail now that you've got the harp, you've got the pan? That's do you fully complete the moon, or do you bail now thinking you've got what you need to finish the seed?
I'm doing Crystal Sword Altar 100% of the time here because I don't want to have to come back to this spot in particular. And then I am 100% out of the moon and going to turn everything in I can.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
I like this routing from Soleras. It may result in an extra check. However, more importantly, it means that you don't ever have to come back to the bottom of the moon except to run away and fight Zeromus, basically.
Yeah, very good point. Pale Dim Altar is very easy to get to if you have to come back to the moon. Whereas, yeah, the Crystal Altar, not so much. That's a pretty deep dive. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And looks like Zoe is through Kainatsu as well. Again, masterfully done by our runners, not taking wipes to basically anything. And, oh, hey, by the way, I heard you like double checks on the moon. Now you are totally out of the moon after you complete this check.
Yeah, that's just too much potential burning a hole in your pocket after this. This is the potential to be a very annoying fight, though.
Well, the good thing is about finding Demist at this location, it has by far the least amount of health of any of the lunar spots. So if there's any one nice thing that could have happened, it is exactly Demist here, rather than at, let's say, the 42,000 spot where Kainatsu was, or even the Ogopogo spot.
Boy, it has been a while since we have seen a moon this devoid of ghosts.
Yeah, a lot of rude bosses, but a lot of required things. We have that Twin Harp, we have Leviathan, probably something from either the Pan or this Demist, or the Crystal Sword Altar check. This moon is unbelievably hard required.
Absolutely.
And looks like Soleras going to get some Zerks in, looking to finish out the fight on this next cycle, and hoping to not take too many of those cold mists. Might have been a little early, but it is definitely a good way to play this. Took a reset, though. That's interesting.
Yeah, might have just gotten frustrated with the early Berserk there and didn't want to sit through all the animations, maybe thinking it's faster to start over than just sit through all of those.
Yeah, I think it would have been faster to just let it ride out, because you can never lock yourself in a state where it will mist infinitely. Demus will always pop out. So even if you lose 30 seconds, let's say, I think you are enough damage in that you want to keep that progression. I understand it, though, from Soleras' perspective, just wanting to get out of that fight and just do things the more normal way, if you will, of just power punches, and regular attacks.
But yeah, going full Zerk from the beginning here this time. Interesting approach.
Looks like he's going to throw out a Coffin on Yang here. So going to take one cold mist. But Coffin effectively does the same thing as a Unihorn or a Silver Staff. It just does it in a little...
I think that's one way to put it.
It just does it slightly ruder.
I mean, so does stabbing your friend in the back. That does the same thing as curing the cold.
I mean, look, it would have been more appropriate if Kane had used a Coffin, let's be real.
Yes, that's true. Very true. Kane excels in that kind of chicanery.
Yeah, it's a fun game, though, when you can heal your party effectively by killing them. That's not how things should work.
We call that emergent gameplay. Yeah, Zoe dealing with those nasty Ice 2s over on Leviathan.
Yeah, and Zoe employed a slightly different strategy. Did Starveil up on that Yang, knowing that Yang is going to be the primary DPS for this fight. So very heads up again to make use of a slightly alternate strategy. There's the Pinktail.
Wow.
That's go mode for Soleras.
That is indeed a huge pickup here.
So
and
here's
what
the
a loaded moon.
Yeah, super loaded moon. But here's the question. Do you stop and check Demist for exactly the pass or the Rat Tail, which might give the pass? Or do you fade Demist entirely?
I feel like checking Demist is such a brief check, and the payoff of getting a pass instead of having to come back to the moon is so big that you kind of have to.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I would check it as well. What I would not check is the Pan for the pass between the Pan and Sheila 2, but
like that's 2 checks there. It's very tempting, but yeah, that's a bit of a longer time commitment, having to trudge through the Sylph Cave and then go back up to Fabul. So yeah, that would be one I'd be more hesitant to make, but I think Demist, I think Demist you check.
So here's a feels bad moment. Zoe dipping out of the moon. No Demist check at Crystal Sword Altar, which means no Pinktail.
Yeah. Oof.
Oh, hey, what about getting everything in pairs, Smithy?
I give up. I give up.
So while we have our runners doing all these turn-ins and stuff, I do want to make sure we get the shout-outs in order. Huge shout-out to Dishmu for rolling and restreaming their first seed with no technical issues at all. Phenomenal job, Dishmu. Thank you, Dravenheart, for doing a wonderful job on pressing the buttons. I know it took a little while for this one to get going on button pushing, but you have done an exceptional job for your first time pressing buttons. And huge shout out also to Smapty, my co-commentator, and of course, last but not least, our runners, Soleras and Zoe. Please make sure to give everybody a follow all fantastic people behind the scenes, in the booth, and doing the actual running. Great work to everybody tonight so far.
Yes, certainly. And unfortunately, we just got some really bad news there for Zoe. That's the Legend Sword at D-Mist. So, unfortunately, Zoe is pretty off course here. Those checks, very mandatory up there.
On the plus side, we'll probably get dueling music out of this. So
Yes, that is
that's a
definitely
good
a plus. But yeah, just to build on what Possum was saying, huge shout outs to all the volunteers that have made this tournament work so far. We've just had so many matches being broadcast across so many channels, and the turnout from you all in chat has been amazing. Thank you as well for coming out, this late on a weekday to watch some 30-year-old JRPGs get randomized. Can't thank you enough for all of your support. You really make it worth coming out here. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and here we go. Let's see who can get through the cutscene faster. Do we have any kamikazes? Do we have any way? Nope. Have to sit through. Zoe does have a kamikaze. So that's a good thing. V is going to get through this a little bit faster, not having to sit through animations like Soleras is.
But if you're new around these parts, we randomized everything, and that includes Edward's heroic song to save his friends. So we're going to shut up here on commentary for a little bit and let you enjoy the randomized tunes of Edward the Bard.
Oh, we have to shush? Okay, I guess. Fine.
Just this once.
Enjoy, y'all.
And a little bit of the Final Fantasy I overworld there, a classic on the harp. Love that. And that Luca key might be very dangerous for Zoe. If Zoe decides to chase that, that could put her even more off course.
Yeah, that Luca key is not great for Zoe. There's no better way to put it. We know that all the value in the world is behind that D-Mist. And unfortunately, any ancillary checks that are done by Zoe at this point just lead to nothing. So
yeah,
it feels really bad.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see. Just there was just so much value on that Crystal Sword altar. I mean, you had the Legend Sword from the D-Mist check. You got the Pink Tail. Soleras very much in go mode here. We'll see if he decides to do a little bit of grinding or is just going to go right to Zeromus here. I haven't seen exactly what the stats are looking like on his team here.
One set of gold dragons would put Rosa at about 2,000 health. But I think as long as she has Cure 4, it's irrelevant. Because as long as your Zerkers survive the first round, or as long as Rosa survives the first round, excuse me, and she has Cure 4, the levels don't matter because I don't think you see a second Big Bang with all the power on this team.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't know if you grind here. I don't think you do, even with Rosa at 41.
yeah. There's this team is so bursty, and more importantly, you're going to have so many berserkers clogging that queue and limiting Zoromus's actions that I think you're absolutely right. I think we only see the one Big Bang here.
Yeah, also 3 apples in the inventory. If those go on Rosa, that pretty much mitigates what you would want out of a grind fight anyway. So I don't see a grind happening here. I think Soleras probably just goes straight through to Z and moves on from there. There's a Baron key for Zoe from the pan. The hits just keep on coming. This is not what you want to see because Zoe's going to end up doing Luca, going to do Baron. There's no way to get away from it either.
And yeah, you've left the moon behind. You got to commit to these checks, and we're burdened with the knowledge that nothing here is going to pay off. We know where everything essential is, except for the adamant at this point. But you need the legend sword along with that, and that comes from the moon.
Yeah, it feels bad. Looks like Zoe is flying to Baron. Thought V might be taking a trip to Eblin there for a second, but looks like Baron is the final destination.
Yep, makes sense. 2 key item checks here. That's all we're looking for at this point. We found the character, found the boss, so it's good density of key item checks without going back to the moon. So yeah, this absolutely makes sense from Zoe's perspective.
Yep, and looks like we are going to get a grind fight here. On Soleras' side, 1 set of gold dragons. Rather than using the apples, maybe doing this more for the HP on Kain and Cecil, and not having to nerf a second Big Bang.
You love to see the casual quad 9s there.
Yeah, there's 1 grind fight. Looks like just going to make use of all those hourglasses and then call it power overwhelming at that point. I think Tella has hit the magical 15 agility, being that he was the one who started off in this fight. So Soleras going to hope that Tella can get 1 more agility point from this fight.
And there's our mom bomb we saw way back in the beginning. With the amount of power Zoe has at this point, we're probably going to chew through that extra 9,000 health that she has.
Yeah, Mom Bomb not long for this world. Tella gaining 3 levels there probably gets enough agility to come off of agility 0. And Soleras most likely going to drop a quick save here in the Lunar Subterrane floor 7. Get any final preparations done for the big bad final boss. And probably be on his way fairly quickly. Looks like there might not be any preparations. This might just be let's go. And ew, Zoe, I'm so sorry. It gets worse. That's a Golbez on the throne, laughing all the way.
Yeah, this seed is definitely punishing you for venturing off the critical path here.
Yeah, this is one of those where it's so unfortunate because the runners were, what, a minute apart?
If that. They were neck and neck, yeah.
And this 1 check on the moon that Soleras did to go check that Crystal Sword altar, that's the one that had literally all the keys to the kingdom.
Indeed, yeah. It had to happen at some point. These runners were just in parity with each other this entire race. Something had to give, and that just ended up being it. And boy, did it pay off. But I think that's other business to deal with, don't we?
Yeah, it's nap time. That's what chat's telling me, because there's a bunch of Z flags, and it's nearing midnight Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific. I know folks kind of get a little tired around these parts, but okay, fine, enough memes. What's the question we got, Smape?
Whose butt are we gonna kick tonight?
But really, though, so much napping.
Oh,
And-
yeah, it's. I think a lot of people are going. Speaking of napping, that's a lot of people on the floor over on Zoe's side. But Golbez is down. Gets through that fight.
So we have Tella zerking Yang, Kane using the crystal, Golbez down for Zoe.
Believe we did see Bacchus's back in Eblin Cave, but I'm not sure if Soleras ever stocked up on them. Thank you, Scala. I appreciate. Oh, whoa, Fasuya, that's big. That's a nice addition, but not interested.
Yeah, Fusoya is really nice about, I don't know, an hour to 90 minutes ago. And there is Negaduck.
Yeah, this Z fight always with a chance to get dangerous.
A little less dangerous than normal, given the HP totals.
Look, I'm trying to keep. I'm trying to keep some sense of drama here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I mean, the combo platter could definitely take out 3/4 of this team. That is a thing that could happen. And then Rock.
This is Sand Ruby for Zoe. There's a second chance at Edge. If
Not the value V was looking for, though.
And the nice thing when you've got 3 Berserkers here is you can just sit on Rose's action and hold it for whenever it's actually necessary.
Yeah, I'm pushing. It looked like about 8 to 9K around here. Might see a second Big Bang. We'll have to do a little bit of math on stream here. But it might be just on the tail end of where you can skip the second Big Bang. We'll see, though. It's going to be close. Zoe is able to find a free fight in the Baron basement, at least. We know this because our runners had to experience the back attack gauntlet some hour and 20 minutes ago.
Thank.
Yeah, Soleras pushing. This is closer to 10K around. We don't see a second Big Bang here. So I know you wanted to build some drama, Smapey. Oh, wow.
Well, there it is.
You see a second Big Bang. I am shocked.
Shows how reliable your math is.
Apparently, I should not be doing math on stream.
Mind. It's also why I'm not competing in this tournament. But yes, gonna recover from that Big Bang with Rosa there, and Negamus probably not much longer for this world here.
There's the rocks tip. So yeah, this is not good for Negamus. But this looks pretty darn good for Soleras, and there it is. Soleras moving to 5-1, guaranteed to avoid any sort of play-in. Guaranteed, most likely, an extra game up on his first opponent in the round of 32. Welcome to 5-1, Soleras.
Yeah, 5-1 is a fantastic position to be in going into that bracket stage. Big GGs for Soleras. That was a heck of a well-run seed. Just putting on a fantastic performance here this evening. And we'll see if we can get Soleras in here and pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah, definitely a lot of really nice tech that Soleras employed during this race. Huge shout outs to some of the really cool stuff that he was able to do with anchoring and just some other really, well-rounded knowledge about the game.
Yeah, it's those little micro optimizations that really added up. This could easily have been a 2-hour plus seed, and just a lot of game knowledge kept it from ballooning that high and keeping it in the sub 2-hour mark. That was just really great fundamental for Enterprise here.
Yeah, and looks like Zoe gets an Artemis bow from Luca.
Our second key item rewarded Artemis bow, of course, that being the theme of this seed.
Yeah, everything comes in pairs. You are not wrong. This is this is quite the seed for sure.
And back into the Fey March for Zoe. Might be thinking here that the Fey March bosses are the key forward.
Yeah, I mean, Zoe has basically committed to the no Crystal Sword altar play at this point. But I hear a ringing in my ear, and I think that means we are joined by one Soleras. GG Soleras.
Thank you, thank you.
First and foremost, welcome to 5-1, and congratulations on getting to avoid a play-in and also getting to start most likely your round of 32 match up a game on whomever is so unfortunate to have to face you.
Yeah, thank you. That is really huge. I was going to be happy with any result. I like Zoe quite a bit, and I'm so happy for either of us to get that position. So I'm happy to have it. But yeah, big sigh of relief there. Also doesn't mean I need to understand brackets like yesterday. I feel like I have a little more time, more breathing room now.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You get a full extra week off, not having to worry about the play-ins, where you can just practice, and really be fine-tuning things for 2 to 3 weeks from now instead of a week or two from now. So a big sigh of relief, as you alluded to.
Yeah, speaking of fine-tuning things, you put on such a great show tonight. There was a lot of really strong mechanical understanding of the game today. Was there a particular play or a piece of tech you employed that you were particularly proud of tonight?
I appreciate that quite a bit, especially since if you've happened to watch some of my other races, some of them have not looked like this. I think my favorite was coffining Yang after berserking him at DMS. I waited a little too early because I was at battle speed 3, so I didn't know how many swings he was going to get, and I didn't want to wait 10 years, so I just reset out of it the first time. But the second time through went better.
If you get a chance to watch the VOD, we got a great quote from Possum saying that a coffin is a lot like a unicorn when you use it.
I mean, am I wrong?
You're not.
You're not at all. No. Also having the Thunderclaw for Yang at numerous battles, and actually just finding Cat Claws for him in general. I'm usually team Yeet Yang because he ends up being so useless so often, but on this particular seed with what I happened to get, it made a lot of sense to keep him.
Yeah, this was just such the gear that you found was so stacked in favor of melee characters. I'm guessing that was something that you were very cognizant of when you were building your team?
Yeah, when I had the items I had, I knew that the only character I wanted was Fusoya, maybe Rosa. When I saw Edge, I paused on him for a moment because I was like, well, I have a spoon, I have a full moon. And then I said, no, I think I'm okay with Yang. And I just stuck to that decision. That's the one I'm not totally sure about, but I think it was okay.
Yeah, that was one we wanted to ask both of you about, because neither one of you actually ended up taking that Edge, which was a little bit of a surprise because in your case in particular, you hadn't seen Sirens yet. You had seen Hourglasses, I believe, so grinding of some sort was on the table. But, we appreciate the insight into that because that was one of the questions we had was, why no love for Edge on the seed with all of the things that he could have thrown?
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't think about the Sirens actually, because I did that before checking the moon, I think. The seed's starting to disappear from my brain already. Yeah, I didn't think about the Sirens. I think if I'd thought about that, I probably would have kept him because I was pretty close between him and Yang because he can wear those claws, right?
We saw you linger on the cursor a little bit there.
Yeah, and it looks like, honestly, though, that Yang paid off on the moon because in that Leviathan fight in particular, Yang had roughly 3,200 health, and took a 3,000 damage Ice 2 to the dome and lived. And Edge would not have lived through that.
Yes, I knew that magic attack at that spot was brutal, but I may have said words when that happened.
Don't worry, so did we.
Yeah.
We have to self-censor. You didn't have to worry about that.
Take us through a little bit, kind of your mindset. You're doing all these underground checks, and you're sitting on, like 6 key items. You have the Fey March, which you did attempt at first a cheeky little Kanderstruck strat before I think realizing you had no Thor Rages. But was
Correct.
that just I don't want to bother with this Fey March, let me go to the moon, there's so much more opportunity up here? What was kind of your mindset when you just weren't finding anything underground?
I had been pretty happy with my routing and kind of what I'd been doing, and I thought I had the power to take the moon at that point. And I had Sirens, and I had Tella, and I had even a Dragoon Spear showed up, I think, at the last moment there. So I just figured I could take... I really only needed to do 1 Gold Dragon fight, but I did 2 of them, and then I felt like that was enough to make the moon safer for me and just try to power through all of that. So, I mean, my thinking was just fade the Fey March, see if the moon has the goods, and boy, did it ever happen to have the goods this seed.
Yeah. This
Which
was
is kind of funny.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, because Zoe and I are both hashtag team never moon, so... And I kind of thought, I don't know, I wasn't sure whether View was going to do that Fey March or not, but yeah, it just sort of worked out the way it did, I suppose.
Yeah,
And-
definitely one of the most stacked moons I've seen in recent memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one other thing about moons and going up there early, one of the things you did that Zoe did not, and it made a huge difference going down the hook route and even after that. Talk us through the random encounter in Value Cave pulling the Red Giant fight. Kind of what was the mindset behind that? Was it just early XP? Were you thinking of doing the Mylon Z fight? Where was your mind at, and what was your goal with that?
When I went into Cave Valley, I wanted to see the boss. If it was free, I was going to take it. I think I had coffins and that hourglass. If it was not, and the Mylon Z, I didn't have anything to exploit his weakness, so I didn't really want to do that fight. But I figured, well, I know Gold Dragons are here. I'm actually not sure about the other fights. I'll take a random encounter and see what happens. And then when I found the giants, I said, okay, I think I can hourglass these, and then that worked. And then I was like, I think I can weak these, and then that worked. And so once that happened, yeah, I just wanted the experience basically so that I could power through the hook and everything else. I suppose it's sort of like taking the Mad Ogres, but I guess the added benefit / risk was, or gamble was seeing that boss at K value.
Yeah, it's like Mad Ogres if you add another 40,000 experience on top.
That's
so.
fair. That's fair. It's a lot of experience. That's fair. But I think that team could have handled that hook route without doing that. I think it went faster, probably.
Yeah, those extra levels, and we had alluded to this in the booth early on, and this is something for, all runners of this game, whether new or old. Yang is tough without multipliers, and
Yeah.
you got a ton of multipliers
Needed levels on him. Yep.
From that fight, and it was just phenomenal to watch Yang go burr through this whole seed, much more so than Kane or Cecil even. Yang was the all-star of this, and you leaned on him heavily.
He really was the all-star, and then it was Kane, and then funny enough, Cecil was sort of in last place amongst the melee.
A rarity for sure on these flag sets.
It is.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, you've got a couple of weeks here. What's sort of your strategy going forward here for the bracket stage? Is it going to nose to the grindstone, or are you going to take a break and sort of recalibrate a little bit for a time?
I want to take some time to do some like wacky seeds and mystery stuff and things I've been avoiding because I've just been on these Swiss seeds for so long. That's like the first thing I'm going to do. And then I do need to play brackets. I don't know how to feel about that flag set yet, so we'll see. I know folks will be able to chat about strategy, Possum in particular. We've talked a lot about strategy. Actually, Possum's helped me quite a bit for getting ready for this tournament. We've done a few mentoring sessions, he and I now, so big shout out to him there. Other thing I want to say, I hope you saw and or appreciated our naming scheme and how I screwed it up. An attempt was made, and then I fixed it.
It was very sweet, yes.
And yeah, and otherwise, just a shout out to the Restream team, Smapety and Possum for these comms, Dravenheart for tracking, and Dishmu for first Restream. Sounds like everything went really well there, so big round of applause to him in particular. And at least that's my last spiel to say. I think so. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you for joining us, and thanks for putting on such a great show. It was a pleasure watching your race night. I can't wait to see you in the bracket stage.
Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to watching this one back. Have a good one.
You too. Take care, Soleras.
GG again. Take care, Soleras.
That was our winner tonight, Soleras, advancing 5-1, guaranteeing a spot in the bracket stage, avoiding a play-in, and getting a nice little bit of an advantage in the opening stages of the bracket tournament. So big GGs to Soleras.
Yeah, again, that 5-1 mark, so huge, and happy to see Soleras be able to pull this one out. I love Zoe to death. I really do. We are kind of rivals in a sense. I believe we started playing Free Enterprise on possibly the same exact day, just over a year ago. So Zoe and I have had a nice back and forth for quite some time now. It pains me to see Zoe not come out on top here, but as Soleras had alluded to, I have been working with him, reviewing races and things like that. So happy to see him pull this out and get to show off some really cool tech. So again, huge GGs to Soleras, and once Zoe gets there as well, GGs to V, because this seed has unfortunately decided that the Crystal Sword Altar was the one thing you couldn't fade, and that was the one thing Zoe faded.
Yeah, Zoe's on the way now. Is going to have essentially all 5 objectives complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you got to make these decisions, and unfortunately, when you've got 2 incredibly skilled runners like this, it comes down to these decisions, and I don't think anybody made a wrong decision here. Just Soleras has ended up paying off where Zoe's didn't. I think the skill was in almost complete parity here, just from how neck and neck they were this entire race until that crucial divergence point. So don't let these times fool you. This was a much closer race than the time suggests.
Yeah, the difference between Soleras and Zoe was maybe, I think we alluded to earlier, about a minute. And if they make the same checks, if both Soleras and Zoe do this Crystal Sword Altar, who knows how this one turns out. We could have had maybe even as close as a tie. It could have been that close with how good these 2 runners are. It just simply is, it highlights this can happen with a rando. One check can make a 20 to 30 minute difference. And it's crazy to see, but it's a thing that can happen with randos.
Yeah, absolutely. We said it once, we'll say it a million times. Rando gonna rando.
Yeah.
Zoe resetting out, might have had the Avenger equipped on somebody and wants to take it off. Yep, that is indeed the case.
Yeah, Avenger is a great fight, or a great item to have going into most fights. Demist is not one of them, unless you plan on coffining the user repeatedly.
Have to start calling the coffin the gentleman's unicorn.
Is it really the gentleman's anything though? It's a pretty vicious way to get a job done. I don't know if that's gentlemanly at all.
It's an ironic name.
I'm just glad you got your one quotable moment there that a coffin is a unicorn.
Yeah.
Who needs silver staves? Who needs unicorns? Just buy coffins.
Yeah, I mean,
work out.
KO, it removes all statuses. It's kind of like Azuna.
Yeah, it looks like we have some, again, high-powered cover strats going on here. This is the fourth punchiest spot in the game, I believe, and Cecil just took a whopping, like, what was that, 80 damage?
Yeah, was pretty negligible. Taking advantage of that auto cup there. Cecil's just a beast.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks like should Zoe choose to turn in D-Mist before going to turn in the Pinktail, I don't know why V would. Maybe he just wants the 17 out of 17 for fun at this point. Um, complete the full adventure. We will get to see everything except the giant, I believe, in this seed. We would have seen literally everything else.
Yeah, I believe you are correct. Everything else has been uncovered. Unfortunately, one of those 17 out of 17 moments that just, plague runners when their decisions don't pan out like you want them to.
Yeah, and we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. And down goes D-Mist.
Yep, there is D-Mist down. We probably get a little bit of a grind here from Zoe and then off to fight the big bad Zeromus. Zoe does have the pass, which is a good thing. Got that pass from the Odin in the Fey March, and that will make at least getting to Zeromus a little faster. Looks like we're exiting out of the lunar subterrane, so grind might be on the eggs down in the underworld, might be turned into Foragin, or might just be going to Zeromus without a grind.
Yeah, talk about a well-guarded pass. Odin in the Fame Arch. Not easy to get to.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad with the Thunderclaw. Again, Thunderclaw played just such an immense role in this seed with Leviathan, with Octomam, with that Odin, a lot of major choke points, or a lot of, could be difficult bosses just exploding to Yang and the power of the Thunderclaw.
Yeah, and it's something we talked about at the beginning of the seed, how Yang really struggles for relevance in many seeds, but this was just a tailor-made one for him. It's really what I love about Free Enterprise is, even though there's your mainstays in the meta, you're very rarely going to find seeds where certain characters are going to struggle. Depending on how the seed ends up, you can really see some characters shine that normally don't get their day in the spotlight. So this was definitely Yang's day tonight.
That is absolutely true, and there is Zoe having to make the walk up because the airship is still there, grabbing a chocobo for fun. But yeah,
and it's over.
yeah, at this level, with all these Zeus gauntlets, with all this power, this should be pretty straightforward for Zoe on this Zeromus fight. And going in with the Avenger on for the Dragoon, gets the plus 10 strength and plus 10 agility, so doesn't have to worry about setting Zerk, toggling over from defense to Avenger. Just going to go straight in with that Zerk status on.
Yep, gonna see another just straight up melee power Z fight here.
Which, again, in this seed, there was no alternative. I don't think you could have forced mages if you wanted to in this seed.
No, I mean, there were a couple of Patlims there, but unless you just hate the idea of not using mages, not really a very relevant option. So here we go. Going into our second Zeromus fight. Let's hear it for Zoe in chat. Seeing this to completion as they take on Negamus here.
Yeah, it looks like we already know whose butt is going to get kicked. But I guess in case folks did not see it the first time, I'm just going to say it for fun now. Whose butt is Zoe going to kick?
There we go. Both got our time in the sun tonight.
And it is Negamus. And we have a Bacchus coming out on Cecil right away. A Bacchus on Yang.
And no need for a Bacchus on our Dragoon, as he is holding that Avenger Sword and does it automatically.
Oh, and apologies for the slight technical difficulty there. Looks like we had a bit of a blip, but everything is returned back to normal, so do not fear.
And there's our Silk Web queued up from Rosa. It's going to put 2 stacks of that slow debuff on Zeromus and trigger a counter nuke so that his magic attack will be nerfed for that first big bang.
This is a little awkward, actually. Rosa, if she goes down, we are left with 3 Zerkers and a combo platter Big Bang 2 into Medio is a very scary proposition if a heal doesn't get off on Rosa here. So let's hope this Elixir fires. Let's hope Tella lives now.
Ooh, yeah, that is very scary at this point.
That's basically the absolute nightmare scenario where this fight can actually go off the rails if you see like a Big Bang number 2 into the black hole into Medio. You get the holy trinity of bad things that can happen. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I want to see Zoe get through this clean the first time. After everything else that V has had to endure, every possible check in this game. Let's go team melee. Hit those big numbers. No whammies.
Yeah, they're you got to get a bonus to Berserk for a party member going down. That just makes sense to me. I'd allow it. Wait, no, they're putting out a lot of damage here, so we might actually be able to avoid the second Big Bang.
I'm hoping. Ideally, we want Yang to take like 1800 or less from this Big Bang if it fires. Whenever the next one does, because that way he can survive rocks. If he takes more than that, I get a little worried.
Yeah, this is getting...
That's not the roll you wanted. No.
No, it is not.
Okay, now we want a black hole.
Yeah.
Oh no, not like this. Someone dodge. Oh no.
Oh.
My heart goes out to you, Zoe.
Yeah, that hurts. That's very, very unfortunate.
That's a high roll on a kitted out Rosa. And then also a high roll on the Yang. Like, that's just super unfortunate.
Yeah, there's nothing. Zoe didn't do anything wrong there. That is just pure luck of the draw there, just not coming up. And it hurts. It hurts when you've already run into so many issues in the seed where you haven't done anything wrong. Just a decision hasn't panned out, and then having something like that. You got this, Zoe. Come on.
Everyone cheering for you, Zoe. I will say, maybe the way this works, the Cosmos are just getting all the bad luck out tonight for Zoe. No more bad luck in the future. And just going to go win the whole tournament from here. All the bad luck gone.
Yeah. And yeah, we can't stress that enough. Zoe did not take the win here tonight, but is not out of this tournament. 4-2 is still good enough to move on. You might have to go through a play-in to get into the bracket stage based on how the points are distributed. But yeah, Zoe's tournament life does not end tonight. V is going to be moving on and have additional matches going forward. So get it all out in one bad luck race and then just conquer the rest of it.
Yeah, and you know, if it's going to happen, you'd much rather it happen now than happen in, let's say, a race that gets decided by 4 minutes, and it was because of a really unfortunate, just savage Z wipe because targeting was just super unlucky. So I would much rather it happen in what is a less consequential match for Zoe than something that would be much more important. Not to discount the importance of getting to 5-1, but already having brackets secured. Better to see it happen now than happen in the round of 32 or a play-in or round of 16, etc.
Precisely. That's who you want the nuke to hit right there.
Yeah, the two best options for a counter nuke are Tella or Yang. Yang can take a full power nuke and just basically laugh at it. Tella can take a nuke and then take a nap.
Now we get back into the swing of things, quite literally, with all of these melee fighters. And Rose is on standby to patch up after these big bangs.
Yeah, this is going to be much smoother. Getting this cure off almost certainly ensures that even a big bang into Medio is not going to phase this party, since Yang himself will have almost 4,000 full HP, and Cecil and Kane will have almost 3,000 themselves. And looks like Zoe making her way through the Zeromus fight quite nicely, doing about 8,000 damage around here, maybe a little more than that. So probably, I'll say it, we're probably going to see a second Big Bang this time. So watch, we're not going to this time, because my math is whatever the opposite of impeccable is.
I guess peccable?
I'm not sure that's how that works.
I don't think that's how that works. Don't listen to me. It's just an English.
We'll allow it. Should get a cure 4 off here.
Yeah, shouldn't be an issue. Nobody in really much danger here. Yeah, very low roll on that Rosa. She is perfectly fine.
Yeah, Yang deciding to take like 2,300, but for Yang, that's like 1,400 for normal people. So
yeah, he just chooses to take some extra just to flex.
And he has done a lot of flexing this seat for both runners.
Absolutely.
But there's Rocks. This one's in the bag. Zoe going to be able to get through this. And there we
One
go.
more swing. Oh, no, that was it. GG's to ZoeVermilion, finishing with a time of 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 13 seconds. Dropping to 4-2, but still surviving in the tournament. And I believe we are joined by Zoe herself. Zoe, how you doing?
Well, that was miserable.
I really hope you get a chance to watch this back, because I know things got so frustrating there for you. But you and Soleras were neck and neck all the way up into the moon, and it just happened to be that Crystal Sword altar. Soleras decided to check when you exited. That was it. That was the only difference.
Yeah, no, and I at that point I felt really behind with Zot, Tower, Dwarf, just all repeatedly being whammies. And so when I was basically just exactly pink tail away with the harp and pan in hand, I was like, I need to make up ground. I should have stuck to Moon, because me and Soleras are about the same on skill level wise. I feel like my execution, if I executed a bit more, I could have made up the time I felt I was behind without needing to gamble like that. But that's what Rando do. And we were talking in the race room afterwards, and he was like, they were both gambles. And I was like, yeah, but your gamble loses you a minute if Crystal Sword Altar doesn't play out. I lost 30. Also, enjoy this.
That is fantastic, Zoe.
Thank you for that, Zoe. Okay, I gotta ask, because it's the burning question, and
Yeah.
especially since I'm a ninja main right now. What you got against the boy? What you got against Geraldine here?
So at that exact moment, I knew I had a single Mura. I didn't know what else I had for him, and I had double Cat Claw, White Spear, Defense Sword, and a Light Sword for Cecil, which is perfectly fine. And I was just like, no, this is fine. We're just gonna go. Same reason I ditched Fu. I was like, I'm not gonna bother equipping him, and I already have a perfectly fine anchor. Let's just
Right.
no.
I mean, the Fu I can see. Everything's fine at that point. But yeah, so many white spears to throw.
Yeah, that would help me with a couple of encounters. Did you see how many encounters I had to do?
Okay, fair.
I did everything except for the giant and yeah, literally just the giant.
Yep.
It was a really great time for a full clear. I know that's not what you want to hear right now for Silver Linings, but you got through everything really well.
I've had faster full clears. This is actually the worst finish time I've had since my first week of practice. I can't believe I was 4-1 coming into this race.
Well, I mean, that's the important part. You were 4-1, and you are still in this thing. By no means should anybody be counting you out at this point. And like I said, watching this back, you're going to see this was an incredibly close one. So I don't think you should be ashamed of anything here. You performed admirably. You're still doing phenomenally in this tournament. What are you feeling like going into, we got the off week here. Are you going to put in a ton of work, take a break? What's sort of your approach here?
Bold of you to think that I even have the opportunity to take a break. No, the off week, I'm going to be doing a lot that is not practice or resting. I've got work I need to do on Enterprise Legacy. I have work I need to do with updating the Tricker bot, updating Siren to be ready for brackets, among a couple other mystery projects. So if I can even get any practice time, that'd be great. I was really hoping to get this win because the math falls out that 5-1s get to skip the opening round, and I would have earned an extra week that I could actually use for practice. But now I just have to wait and see if I roll in one of those bottom seeds and have to play in the opening round, and then just don't have any time to practice. So.
Well, if anyone can make it through on just Raw Talent alone, you're definitely one of them, Zoe. You are absolutely one of the elite players here, so don't count yourself out.
I appreciate that. But GG's to Soleras. That was well run. I'm probably not going to watch it back, but I've gathered enough to know that we were pretty neck and neck, and he must have made the same just absolute awful earth checks that I did, but he managed to make the check that counted. So best of luck to him, and I hope we can get a rematch in brackets if I can make it that far into brackets, I guess.
Yeah, that would definitely be something I'd love to see. This was a very entertaining match.
Yeah, y'all both played extremely well. This was melee percent through and through. You found all of the goodies for all of the characters. So I hope you enjoy melee characters.
I do. In this fact set, I actually prefer melee characters. I wish I would have found an Excal or Crystal Sword to maybe answer something that someone out there is wondering why I didn't bother. I knew Legend Sword was on Rydia's mom. Why didn't I just go get the Excal to make my Z fight safer? I don't look at the race room, and even though I knew in my gut I had lost, considering what all I had just done, I didn't actually know I had lost yet, and so I wasn't going to waste the time to go grab that Excal.
That actually makes complete sense. Yeah. I know it's so tempting to peek at that race room and know, but that's actually that way you don't kind of psych yourself out. So that's actually a really good approach there.
Yeah, and for me, especially on Restream, then this is just a me thing. I don't fault any runner that does watch it. I like to finish out seeds just based off my own merit and my own routing and execution. And if I see a finish time, then that's meta knowledge that I can use to go, okay, well, it's probably not down this long rabbit hole. And I want to showcase my skill, especially on Restream. So
yeah, totally understandable.
Or lack thereof in this seed. Good gosh.
Don't even.
You played plenty well. Your technical execution was great. You had one minor mishap in Zeromus that was completely not your fault.
I
With
shouldn't have delayed Rose's first turn, so
but you played extraordinarily well. This is just a prime example of rando gonna rando, and it happens to literally everybody. So do not
yeah.
beat yourself up over this. You know you're a great player, Zoe. We know you're a great player.
Bah, fine. I do want before I leave and let y'all do the wrap up. I did just want to call out one particular fight from that Kainatsu that I managed to do just enough damage to not die to the wave after realizing, oh, I don't have any Thor Rages.
Well, it worked out. If you can't defend, just all out attack.
Yeah, that was a moment of hope I survive.
And you did.
Yep. So I'm gonna bounce. Thank you all so much. Enjoy. I hear there's a real tomorrow happening. I hope people enjoy that one. So
Yeah. Thanks so much for being on, Zoe, and take care. Looking forward to watching your next match in the tournament.
absolutely. Take care.
Take care.
Yeah, GG again, Zoe. Take care. But it looks like that is going to be it for us tonight. Zoe, thank you so much for joining us. Soleras, congratulations on getting to 5-1. Smapety, it's been a blast doing comms with you.
Always.
This is the second time we've gotten to do it now, and I hope there is a third.
Yes.
Huge shout outs to everyone behind the scenes. D Schmoo, first restream, amazing job. Dravenheart, first time tracking, amazing job. Soleras and Zoe, our runners, amazing race. Smapety, amazing commentary. That's a lot of
Let's not go
amazings.
that far.
I might be overusing amazing, but yeah, it was great. I enjoyed this. What a race.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Don't have any more tournament races for you here tonight, but we are still have plenty of free enterprise for you. We're going to shoot you over to Bursic Badger, who is doing some free enterprise, so you can enjoy it into the late hours of the night here. Please refrain from spoiling anything in this race, just in case anybody over there wants to watch the VOD here. But for the rest of the team, I'm Smapey, and thanks so much for watching us.
Yeah, thank you all so much, and everyone take care, stay healthy, stay blessed, and enjoy Bursic Badger. And we should have you all over there very soon.
Right now.